Signed the lease on my current apartment on December 27, 2017. The start date on the lease was the 28th. Did the walk-through and notated every single thing. Scuff marks, sloppy paint jobs, dozens of nail holes, dinged corners, cracked linoleum tiles, stains, spray paint on the doorknobs, and microwave, etc. Clearly a classy place. Anyway, I turned in the page they gave me and another 2 pages of notes, listing every single tiny thing that I could find that wasn't perfect, that should have clued them into the kind of person that I am, but I guess not. Before the final signing on the 27th, I talked with the apartment manager and asked if I could start bringing stuff in, but not actually take possession until the 1st, since they still needed a day or two to shampoo the carpets and repaint some spots. She said, yes, of course, no problem. But the date on the lease was still 12/28/17. I bring over boxes on the 28th, plug in the fridge to get it cold for when I bring over foodstuffs on the 1st, bring over more boxes and call it a day. The 29th, I bring more stuff and check the fridge and notice the fridge is kinda cool and the freezer is room temp, not cold at all, let alone freezing. I caught the office lady just before they closed that day on Friday the 29th. I explained that the fridge seems to be broken. It's a provided appliance, specifically listed in the lease, along with a stove and dishwasher. She says, no problem, tasks a maintenance guy to check on it with me. He takes 2 minutes to say it's broken. I'm like, yep, that's why you're here. So, how do we fix it? I'm moving in on the 1st. Oh, okay, that's okay. I'll just get a good one from an empty apartment and switch them out. Great. I leave to get more boxes. I'm moving what I can with my car while also working full-time, planning to borrow my dad's truck on the 31st to bring over my bed, foodstuff, and other large furniture. 30th rolls around. Still no fridge. Call office. No answer. Because it's Saturday. 31st. Sunday and New Year's Eve. I bring the rest of my stuff, put food in the kinda cool fridge, hoping it won't spoil. Call the office again. No answer. Jan 1st. Monday. Surely now I can get some help. Ha! No. On New Year's Day, the office is closed, of course. I still drop off rent in the rent box. Jan 2nd, Tuesday. And office is still closed because no one likes to work with a hangover, I guess. Most food now is either definitely off or at the very least untrustworthy. I tossed about $80 worth of food, but not before taking a photo of it all. I'm officially pissed off now. Wednesday morning, the 3rd, I'm at the office at 7:55 a.m., just as the apartment manager rolls up to open up for the day. She still looks hungover. Must have been one hell of a New Year's. Meanwhile, I haven't had a working fridge for 3 days, that I'm counting, and had to toss a lot of food. I'm not happy to say the least. Still, I politely but tersely told her what was going on, showed her the pictures, and I was promised I'd have a fridge that day. I go to work, get home at 11 p.m., still no fridge. I did some Googling, and it took a while because the info was not readily available, but I finally found the owner's contact info. I call around 1 a.m., leave a detailed and noticeably upset voicemail, and go to bed. Wake up, go to work, come home that night, and finally, the fridge fairy has blessed me with a visit, and I find a working cold box in my kitchen. It's in the middle of the kitchen floor at a weird angle instead of in the spot made for it, but whatever. I'm happy the whole thing is over and I can focus on unpacking. That was Jan 4th, 2018. Needless to say, not a good first impression of the place. 2 weeks go by and I come home to a note on the door saying I owed XX dollars. In back rent, I haven't even been here a whole month yet. I go to the office to see what's up and get told that I didn't pay for the first 4 days of my lease and that I had to pay that by the end of the month or face a fine. Tried to remind them that the apartment manager said I could take possession on the 1st since they still had to carpet clean and stuff and was politely told to get lost because the lease says December 28th. Well, that's what I heard anyway. But okay, I see now. You want me to abide by the lease? Fine, I will, but so will you. I get a money order for the amount and return half an hour later and slam it on the counter. Apartment manager is there too. Kinda avoids my eyes, takes the money order, and starts to walk back to her office. By the way, I'll be deducting 8 days of rent from February's payment. Just a heads up. Cue surprised double take. What? Why? Why, you can't just not pay the full amount of rent. You'll be fine. Then I pulled out my phone, already loaded to the applicable section of our state's tenant-landlord laws, and read off the part that basically says, if an amenity or appliance provided by the property owner, or a guaranteed utility such as water or heat is listed in the lease as being the sole responsibility of the owner, and if that amenity, appliance, or utility is unavailable to the tenant for any number of days during their lease with the owner, then the tenant may subtract that many days' worth of rent from the next month's rent or receive a refund of same if it is the last month of their lease. Confused silence. I explain. That means that, as you say, my lease started on the 28th. That means I didn't have a working fridge for the first 8 days of my lease. That is double the amount that I just paid you for my back rent. Therefore, come February, I am going to legally and rightfully withhold 8 days of rent because you couldn't honor our lease agreement and get me a working fridge the day I asked for it. Then she kinda shook herself, asked me, please wait 1 moment while she made a phone call. I sit down and pull up Reddit. 10 minutes later, she comes out with my money order and asks me to take it back. This was all just a misunderstanding. And let's just forget about all of this. Big smiles. Big smiles. Hide the panic. Hide the panic. I returned her smile and told her I can't do that. That money order is already addressed to the apartment complex. I can't cash or deposit it. And besides, you guys were the ones that said I had to abide by our lease agreement. I just did, and now you will too. Cue cool guy exit, double finger guns, and dozens of cheering onlookers. Pew, pew, pew. Hi, no. I just got my stuff and said, welp, guess I'll see ya on the 1st. Have a good one. And I left. Feb 1st rolls around and I drop off my money order for rent 8 days, along with a reminder note of why that is, and I didn't hear a single word about it. Bonus story. About 6 months in, my toilet starts a micro leak, hairline crack on the inside of the tank, starts staining the linoleum. And rather than drag it out and get the run around like last time, I write up a note that basically says, pursuant to code 1.4269, blah blah, if the owner does not complete required repairs within 2 weeks of written notification, tenant may complete those repairs and deduct all related expenses from the next month's rent. Take in the note and present it to the main front desk girl. When asked why, I went to all that trouble when all I had to do was submit a maintenance request. I reminded her about the fridge fiasco. Her eyes went wide, and I was told not to worry. They are on it. 3 hours later, I had a new toilet. So about a year and some change ago, my cousin was stationed at the Air Force Base close to my house and was living with us. He is a tool shopaholic. He says things are cheaper where I live. He finds 25 rolls of 12-2 wire at almost 50% less than at the store. Obviously, my cousin thought it was a bargain. He made an offer and the guy accepted. We drive down an hour, and this guy says he got a better offer. Naturally, my cousin gets pissed and bummed out. I told him we should totally mess with this guy. I got the same app and found the post. I made an offer for the full price of the cable, which was steep. I can't remember how much exactly, but it was more than $2,000. After messaging for hours and making him drive an hour past my house, he lives south, I live north. He tells me he's at the random store where we agreed to meet. I blocked him. A few minutes later, he messages my cousin telling him the buyer backed out. Cousin makes a counteroffer even cheaper and the guy shows up at my house, gets less than 50% and unloads the cable for him. Cousin wasn't sad anymore. Last year, my husband and I had to take our cat to the vet. She stayed overnight for surgery, and when we went to pick her up the next day, the vet's assistant at the front counter said she was listless, but okay, and wouldn't get into her carrier. So they let me go in the back to try to get her in the carrier while my husband stayed up front and paid. I got her into the carrier, brought her up front, and gave it to my husband, saying, "Here she is, seems to be fine, just tired." So I totally understand the confusion. Just not the reaction afterward. As my husband and I were trying to soothe our cat before heading out to the car, the next lady in line snapped her fingers at me and said she was there to pick up her dog and could I go in the back and get it? I said, "Sorry, I don't work here," and the assistant behind the counter had gone somewhere after finishing the transaction with my husband. The lady said, "I saw you give that man his cat. Now get my dog." Again, I said, "Sorry, but I don't work here, and that's our cat." She again snapped at me and said, "Get my dog now!" My husband turned to her and said, "That's my wife, and we are picking up our cat. I'm sure someone will be up here soon to help you." The lady said, "Don't cover for her. I saw her come from the back with your cat. Are you trying to score with her? It won't work. I don't think a girl like her would go for a guy like you. Now, where is my dog?" I took this chance to give my husband a side hug, saying, "You're just my type. Wanna go home with me?" Just then, as well, a worker came from the back and said she could help the lady. The lady scoffed and said, "It's nice that someone here can. Your coworker here is getting all over this person and won't get my dog." The vet assistant simply said, "Ma'am, she doesn't work here. She's just picking up her cat." Then the lady said something that would have set me off if I wasn't so concerned about getting our cat in the car and home. She hates car rides. Well, why didn't she say something then? Had I not been so busy trying to leave and preparing for the car ride ahead, I would have lit into her. The cat is fine, just had a strange growth removed, but learned some colorful words I let out about the lady at the vet's on the ride home. So, for those not sure what COBRA is, it is the kind of health insurance that departing employees can sign up for through their former employers. It can be very expensive, but if you need it to bridge before a new insurance will start up, people will do it. So, there was an upper-level manager who was a PITA, not malicious, just a needy pain. He was let go, but wanted to keep his wife on our insurance. Sure, not a problem. Sent out COBRA paperwork. Due to the drama and some upper manager not really understanding COBRA, it ended up being in-house, with me chasing him down every month for his payment. Clarification. To bring in-house mean to administer COBRA, not pick up the cost of the former employee's cost. Are there examples when employees get laid off that the employer will pay part or all of the COBRA? Yes, that is not the case here. Those decisions are on the upper management level, not by someone like me who is administering the plan. And believe me, if he had been subsidized, I decided to be a mega bias and charge him the full amount. Yes, I would have been rightly fired. Believe me, I charged that 2.5% admin fee that I was legally allowed to, although I called it headache tax. Addition. Could be wrong, but I think that there is a misunderstanding on what I was charging for. I was not charging an employee for a non-employee rate. I was charging the correct rate for a former employee, including the legally allowed administrative fee.